Hello, my dear students, and welcome to this video about web applications development. In this particular video, we will be implementing a authentication using Laravel as at the back end and Nuxt.js in the front, and specifically we'll be using the Nuxt auth. And on the Laravel side, just the usual API authentication, which means it's going to use token-based authentication. So let's get on with it. First of all, I already have here a blank Laravel application. So first thing we need to do is change our environment variables. I'm gonna set this to auth demo. I already have this database created, so just go on to our terminal and execute. I need to go inside the folder first. Okay, so we can do PHP artisan migrate, and there we go. We have successfully migrated our database. And by the way, I'm just using the usual database that is already in a boilerplate new Laravel application. Next, we need to do is, of course, implement some routes for our login uh, and maybe registration, perhaps. So, first, we'll create a controller. So PHP artisan make controller. We'll call this auth controller, and we'll open it up. So here we'll be implementing some methods. The first would be register. So public function register, and inside of here we'll be I will be using the request object here. First, we are going to validate our request, and the request will have to have a user. Actually, is it a name? Let's check first. So we'll have to have name, email, and password. So this should be name. This is a string, and it should be required. And this one is an email. This should also be required. And this should be an email. And this should be also unique within the users table, specifically the email field or column. Next, we'll have password, which is a string, and of course also required. Next, we're going to create this now into our database. So say user is equal to user create, and we'll pass in the name. Actually, the name. We'll have request name, and we'll have email, and finally we'll have password, but the password will be placed inside of a bcrypt so that it will be encrypted. Once that's done, we'll simply return a response, which is a JSON, and we'll have a message that says Registration success. This will be a 202 response. Now we'll do our login. So it's going to be public function I think we need to do first is the respond with token function. We're gonna need this. We'll call this later. We'll make this also private. All right. So we'll pass in here the token itself, and the way we do it is simply return here a response, and we'll include in the response some other things. Okay. That would be, of course, first the access token should be passed here. Another would be the token type, and the token type we are using here is a bearer. So you say bearer, and the expires in, and we'll have it by taking the TTL of our auth. And we're going to multiply this by 60. All right. So next, we are going to create the login now. So for our login, it's a little bit simple. We, of course, also need to add here our request object. And we'll just take our credentials into a variable called creds. And we'll simply are going to grab only the user and the actually the email and password. All right, so we are going to try and attempt. So we say auth attempt, and we'll attempt using the credentials. And if this particular attempt, we'll assign this to a variable called token. So if this particular attempt is successful, we put this inside of an if statement. Or actually, if this is not successful, we are going to return a response in JSON, of course. And we'll just throw in an error, say unauthorized. And this will be a 401 response. Otherwise, you can return this respond with token, and we pass in the token. This token that was generated by the attempt right here. Also, by the way, we also need to check our kernel, or no, not our kernel, but our config. In our app config, we'll have to do something here. actually on the auth. So we'll have our defaults. Our guard should be API. Our default guard. And well, I think this will stay the same. All right. Okay. Let's close this one. Next is we're gonna add another function. This is the one that will return the user itself as a JSON, of course. So it's a public function. We call this me, and it will simply return as a response a JSON of the auth user, just like that. For logout, we have public function logout, of course, and all we have to do is call auth logout, and we'll return a response again in JSON with a message of successfully logged out. All right. I think that's all we need for now. Now we are going to build up our API, our endpoint. So we open up api.php. This is where we get our routes. So here, we'll remove this one. First is let's implement a route for yeah. So we'll just put this back here. This will be the me, and instead of calling this guy, we'll be calling an auth controller and me. Actually, yeah, I think we are going to put into a group all the routes, all the endpoints that require authentication, but we'll do that later. So you'll have a get, not a get, but a post for the login. Also another post for the register. Why don't I just copy this instead? Say register and call in the register method. What else? For logout, also we'll do logout. So we'll rewrite this one. We'll have a group instead. Which will have our middleware auth API right here. And inside of a function, we're gonna call route get. Put it right there to get our user. We'll also have route post to have the logout. We are going to probably go back here if there are some problems. So basically, yeah, that's it for now. We'll try and test this using our handy dandy Thunder client, right? First of all, let me remove all these things here. All right. So create a new request and we'll do register. So we have HTTP colon colon slash slash look. Oh, by the way, we have to run our app first. So we open up PHP artisan serve. All right. And so now in our new request, let's close this one. Localhost port 8000, and we do register. And we pass in our body as JSON. Okay. So we'll have here a name. Can you see that? Okay. We'll have email. And we'll have password, a very powerful password. Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so let's try this out. This is a post request and send, and we have an error. Um, let's do our accept to be uh, JSON, and we have this error. We have no message in our error. I don't know what's going on. Not found HTTP exception. Uh, all right, it's wrong. It has to be API slash register, and we have another user not found, controller user not found. We were not able to create a user model. Is that what's happening here? Let's see. So we go back to our models, and we do have user. So I know what's wrong here. We actually have to add uh, another trait here for our user. And most importantly, I forgot to install a very important package for our Laravel for this to work, because we'll be using JWT tokens here. So we need to install time on JWT package. So to get that, we can just grab our browser here and see, search for time on JWT package from I think this is the one here, time on designs JWT auth. So we can click on this. We'll see right down below the documentation. It's here. All right. So let's go Laravel installation, and here it is. Just call this composer required time on JWT auth. So just copy this one and go back to our terminal. Let's stop the server and paste composer required time on slash JWT auth. And after this, we're going to also call we don't have to do this because we are using Laravel 8, but we do have to publish. So we copy this one as well and go back to our code and paste it here. And there we go. We have published it successfully. And then also generate the key. And there we go. So we can make it start the server again and go back here to our files. And now we can use a trait here. So we use Timon backslash JWT auth uh, contracts and JWT subject. And now we'll just implement that here. Implements JWT subject. And you know what happened when we implement when we implement a contract to a class, we need to apply a method that is required for that. And that method is those methods are get the JWT identifier, so and so on. So just actually no suggestion, but we'll just write it down here to say public function get JWT identifier, and we'll simply return this get key. So remember earlier we executed a command to generate a key. So this is the key that will be returned. That will be the basis for the identifier. Another one is public function get JWT custom claims. But for now, we're not going to use to return anything here. This is expected to be returning an array, and so we'll just return a blank array for this. All right. So I hope with that we can now move on. Let's see if we can continue with our registration request. So send, and we still have this error. Okay, yeah. So the problem here would be the use of the user class in our auth controller here, and we did not import it. So just put the cursor at the end and control spacebar and enter. It's imported there. Let's save this, go back to our request and send. All right, and we have not found. I think I did not import the JWT subject on the user. Yeah. This should not be. Why did I put it like this? Let's try again. Ooh. All right, so we have registration success, and we'll try to open up our browser. I'm not going to use this. I will and try to open up our local host and see if we have our user here. Yep, so we have our user, and which means our registration is okay. So now we'll try to do another one. We'll do login this time. So it's post again, and http ://localhost :8000 /API /login, and for our body JSON again, and we'll have email benjilinteria at mdc.ph, and we'll have password, our very strong password, and click send. And we now have another error. Let's see, JSON here, call to undefined method attempt. Oh, I think we need to take a look at our config once again. Let's see. We have our auth. Uh, oh, there you go. This should be JWT instead of token, right? Let's see. This is the login send, and there we go. So I have forgotten a lot of things, but hopefully you're able to pick it up just fine. So we now have our access token, and so we can use this access token for accessing protected routes. As an example, the protected routes are the user, which should return the user, the authenticated user, and the logout, which should log out the authenticated user. So let's go back to our Thunder client and have a new request. Let's try opening up a get request. Let me check back. So it's a get request here for our user. And again, it's slash user, which we'll call the me function. So http colon slash slash localhost colon 8000 slash API slash user. And of course, when you send this, and it should be JSON here, we'll get unauthenticated. That's because our our requests do not have authentication. But in our case, we can get the token in this example, in this test, just get our token from the login that we had earlier. We have here our token here. So you copy this, and we can use that for the auth part of authentication part of our request. We are going to use the bearer token here, and paste the token. And so when we send this request with the token, we now get the user. So basically, okay, let's also implement the try and test our logout. So create a new request. This is a post request, and http colon slash slash localhost colon 8000 slash API slash logout. And of course, we are going to add here an authentication for bearer, so that this will be identifying our user that will be logged out. Send, and now we have successfully logged out. So if we go back to the user uh, request, we still have our bearer token here. Since we have logged out, this should return unauthorized or authenticated. There you go. Nabubulol si ako. Right. So our API is working just fine. Now we can switch to our Nuxt application.